Hey folks, welcome to Economic Observations. Today is Thursday. It is the 24th of June. My name is Chris and thank you so much for watching. Today's video is sponsored by the Tanzania School Foundation. Links in the description below to learn more. Today, 411,000 new people filed for unemployment over the past week. It is a drop, but it is still significantly high. Today we're going to talk about the debt ceiling. We have heard a lot about Janet Yellen begging Congress to please lift the debt ceiling or there will be catastrophic consequences. We know that the debt is over $28 trillion and growing every day, and Congress needs to do something to lift the ceiling to help pay for all those federal workers, Social Security, Medicare, and all the debt on the bonds. Once the debt ceiling is not raised, they can't issue any more bonds, bills, or notes, and they have to pay their bills only with the tax revenue that they receive. The only revenue that the government receives is tax revenue. And some people will claim to think that the debt has grown significantly because of Dems spending, right? We had the 2008 financial crisis that we had to get out of. And now in 2020, we had the pandemic, and trillions of dollars have been spent under both Democratic and Republican leadership. And we also have major tax cuts, reducing the amount of revenue that the government raises by the Republicans. So folks, both parties are to blame for the debt. It is scary. They all have their own special interests. It's not my interest or your interest. It's their own interest for doing what they do. It is one tangled web. Picture this, right? So the debt ceiling is something like ceiling. You have a credit card here, right? So I have a credit card, and my credit card says I am allowed to spend $10,000 on this credit card. Great. So I go out and I spend money, right? Because they're giving it to me, right? I have $10,000, but I don't spend the $10,000. But let's say a lot of Americans would. So they take this $10,000 and they go spend it on things, right? And not necessarily assets, right? They spend it on people's salaries. They spend it on people's EIDL loans, unemployment, social, whatever it may be, right? But it's all expensed, right? With nothing to show for it really, except happy people, right? So I got $10,000 on this credit card, and what happens? Oh my God, I still owe salaries, and I still have to pay my rent, and I have all this spending to do, but I have no more money on this credit card. So voila, credit card number 2 comes up, right? I don't have another credit card here with me, but number 2 comes up. That credit card is giving me $20,000. So they're raising my debt ceiling, right? So I don't have a $10,000 limit now. Now I have a $20,000 limit. So I borrow from credit card 2 to pay off credit card 1, right? So credit card 1 is paid for, and that's in a good scenario. And now I have $20,000 on credit card number 2. I just doubled the debt. Thank you very much. Now, 2 months later, I need $20,000 to pay off the other credit card. So American Express comes back to me and says, okay, now your credit limit's $40,000. So I say, phew, thank God I can take that $40,000 and I can pay off credit card number 2. And now I have $40,000 worth of debt. And that's what the government is doing. And they continue to increase the debt. All right, to the benefit of someone's Medicare or someone's tax cuts or whatever it is, right? Someone else is getting a benefit and the government is losing money. And how long is that sustainable? I understand we just went through a pandemic that would have been catastrophic had the government not done that. I get that. But at whose expense? Because we just bailed out businesses, big companies, individuals, small companies. We bailed out everybody so they didn't collapse. But now if we don't raise the debt ceiling, what happens? Is the government at risk at collapsing? We just did the scenario, right? I have $40,000 in debt. I'm done. I'm capped out. No one is going to give me any more debt. So what happens if I go over my $40,000? The credit card company will say, well, we're not paying those creditors. We're not paying Macy's or the supermarket or wherever you went and spent that money because you didn't have that money. And that's what the federal government has to do, right? They have to make choices. So now all they have is their tax revenue to spend because there's no more borrowing, there's no more QE, there's no more debt. So what do they do and who do they cut? Do they cut the federal workers? Do they cut Social Security recipients? Do they cut Medicare? What does the government cut? Or do they cut the interest to bondholders, which would be a sovereign default? And you can't have that happen because that would lead catastrophic repercussions throughout the whole world. So this is a very, very strange time that we're in. And we've been here before, right? The debt ceiling has been raised 78 times in the past 200 years. All right, so it's been raised 78 times in the last 200 years, and 24 of those times have been in the last 30 years. So we've been here before. But it seems like there is a deadlock once again between Congress in spending and having $6 trillion more on infrastructure and plus all the other debts that we don't even see, right? The unfunded Social Security, the unfunded Medicaid. In 2013, when there was a debt ceiling crisis, 120,000 government employees lost their jobs. And it can happen again. So people say, I work for the government, I'm going to get a pension plan, I have a good job, I'll never lose it, blah, 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 blah. Well, governments are hurting. And the federal government also gives money to the states. So the states would lose funding too. What I'm trying to say is that people at some point need to balance their budget. The government at some point needs to balance their budget. So you have need in America that, you know, the need was great during the pandemic and the government was there for us. But we have debt that we're never going to get out of. And at whose expense is the debt going to be? And eventually, it's going to come to roost. And when it does, like Janet Yellen said, it's going to be catastrophic. I don't know when. How high will the debt go? They say we're at over $28 trillion in debt right now. But the truth debt, there's an organization called truthinaccounting.org. It says the truth debt is over $133 trillion. That's in unfunded Social Security and Medicare. How are we going to get ourselves out of this? And when do we stop cutting the taxes and stop spending? When do we start raising taxes so people like Jeff Bezos can pay their fair share and start being economically fiscal on the other side? It's going to have to happen. Shit's going to hit the fan one day. Save your own money. Take it out of institutions. Take it out of the banks. Government's going to take the bank money first. Hold on to your gold and silver. Have some cryptos. Have some stocks. My whole 401k now is all in a money market account. I don't trust any of this. Because all we need is one little crack. Just like that building in Florida. And my condolences to anyone who knows anyone or has been affected by that. But that's all it takes. All right, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Check the links below to support TSF. Have a great day, folks, and thank you again for watching.